The Farrell Valve Bag attaches to your child's feeding tube and allows extra air to escape from your child's stomach. Use this video if your child has a G-tube, GJ tube, or NG tube and you are using the Farrell Valve Bag when feeding the stomach. If this is not the correct Farrell Valve Bag video for your child, see the links in the description for other Farrell Valve Bag videos. Never connect the Farrell Valve Bag to an NJ tube, J tube, or J port of the GJ tube. Never use the Farrell Valve Bag to vent the small intestine. To use the Farrell Valve Bag, first wash your hands. If possible, have your child sit up during the feeding. If your child is lying down, raise the chest and head above hip level during the feeding. Hang the Farrell Valve Bag so it's higher than your child's stomach. The bag must be higher than the stomach at all times. On the Farrell Valve Bag tubing, close the white clamp and open the blue clamp. Push the feeding bag or gravity bag adapter into the med flushing port of the Y connector on the Farrell Valve Bag tubing. If you are using a bolus syringe instead of a feeding bag or gravity bag, push the syringe adapter of the Y connector cap into the med flushing port. Then, push the tip of the syringe into the top of the syringe adapter. If you use a feeding tube extension, push the Farrell Valve Bag adapter into the large port on your feeding tube extension. Make sure the caps on the other feeding tube extension ports are closed. Hang the feeding bag at the same height or lower than the Farrell Valve Bag. Prime the Farrell Valve Bag tubing and feeding tube extension. Always prime before you attach the extension or Farrell Valve Bag adapter to your child's feeding tube. Attach the feeding tube extension to the feeding tube. If you are not using a feeding tube extension, push the Farrell Valve Bag adapter into the G port on the feeding tube. Start your child's feeding. Make sure the Y connector is at or below the level of your child's stomach and the Farrell Valve Bag is higher than your child's stomach. Keep the white clamp closed for 60 minutes if the fluid pump rate is 50 milliliters an hour or lower. Keep the white clamp closed for 30 minutes if the food pump rate is 51 milliliters an hour or higher. This helps formula move correctly through the Farrell Valve Bag tubing. After the amount of time has passed, open the white clamp. The Farrell Valve Bag is now removing extra air from your child's stomach. The extra air in your child's stomach escapes through the vent valve, so the Farrell Valve Bag will not fill up with air. You should use a new Farrell Valve Bag every 24 hours. To stop using the Farrell Valve Bag, first wash your hands. Then make sure the Farrell Valve Bag is empty. When the Farrell Valve Bag is empty, close the feeding tube extension clamp, the blue clamp, and the white clamp. If your doctor orders a water flush, fill a new syringe with the amount of water your doctor ordered. Remove the feeding bag adapter or syringe from the med flushing port of the Y connector and insert the water syringe. Open the feeding tube extension clamp and the blue clamp, then push the syringe plunger to give water. When the syringe is empty, close the extension clamp and the blue clamp and remove the water syringe and close the Y connector. After you are done giving the water flush, or if your doctor has not ordered the water flush, disconnect the Farrell Valve Bag adapter from the feeding tube extension or feeding tube and recap the adapter. If you did not give a water flush, be sure to push the plug end of the Y connector into the med flushing port.